welcome back to another grilling video, and today we are doing a beef boneless chuck roast. We're gonna go cook this thing in such a way that if you would use a spoon, it will be so tender. We'll show you all the steps and the methods, but first, let's get the smoker lit so we can start getting some of that good old smoke flavor going. First thing we want to do is go ahead and kick on our smoker. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try. I've never used this before. I usually use mesquite or oak wood, hardwood comparison. I've even done some apple wood, but I was at the store the other day and they had the PitBoss pellets, and they were marked half off, probably because they weren't selling great, but they're peach wood blends. I thought that'd be kind of interesting. I'm gonna try it on this one just to see if I can notice any difference at all. But it was half price, so good deal. All right, yeah, we're definitely in need of some pellets. There's probably have, I don't know, 10 minutes worth in here, and that's about it. So let me open this up and pour them in. All right, let's get this powered on. We'll turn the power on. Go up to just smoke mode for now. And away we go. Now, according to this, it says peach is best for lamb, pork, chicken, I don't know what the heck that is, and vegetables. Looks like a loaf of bread. Certainly it's not baking bread. So we'll see. So this is about a 2.4 pound boneless chuck roast. I didn't do one really big. This is going to be more than enough. We're going to do a nice simple seasoning on it for this first step. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of accent. This is some MSG. We're going to go ahead and use some of that. And then I love this Lone Star brisket, this Texas brisket rub. It's a good one when you're first putting this thing on and getting the initial flavor going. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and get her all seasoned and ready to go. Real simple in the beginning, by the way. Now this is a nice looking chuck roast. There's no reason really to trim it. I have a little bit of heavy fat right in here, but it'll be easy enough to pick out later. And I'm gonna leave it in there because I don't think it's the kind that won't melt down. I think that's gonna melt down and give it some good, amazing flavor. So with that, let's go ahead and start sprinkling a little bit of this on there. I'm not gonna go too heavy with this accent. You know, it's funny, MSG had this horrible reputation when I was a kid, right? And, you know, it was bad, don't get it in Chinese food, and everywhere had no MSG. And then, of course, you know, science catches up with itself, and it turns out that it's supposedly not dangerous. You do your own research. But I think it enhances the flavor in an amazing way. So I went ahead and just sprinkled it lightly on both sides. And now we're going to do the same with our brisket rub. I'm going to start this on the sides because I want to flavor all sides of this thing. I put my hand right here just because as I get some on my hand, instead of on the side of the meat, I can just pat it right up on there. So you can see that and get a nice little coating on it. Do the same on this side. And now we're just going to go ahead and sprinkle this all the way across here and pat it on. And when you're doing this, if your meat is fairly moist or wet, you do want to dry it off. Just pat it off with a paper towel or something. That's plenty to do it that way. Work just fine. We live down here in southern Florida. It's always humid, so some of these rubs, if they have any brown sugar in them, they always tend to bind up. I end up shaking the thing up just to get it back into good loose dust again. All right, that's good. We're not going too crazy in any of this. And I also like to take the ends here and dab them down on my cutting board and pick up some more of the bit of this that's kind of gone all over. All right, we're gonna let this rest for about 5 minutes. What we wanna have happen is all of that seasoning to sort of soak into the meat, and you'll notice it will sort of become moist looking. That means it's beginning to create that binding that we ultimately want on here. While we let this rest, let's go ahead and get a probe thermometer in here. And I'm using this meter app. I really, really like this thing. It's a bit of a wireless one. It has 4 different probes, if you will. I'm using probe number 1. I only need 1 for this. And what's nice is these things connect directly up to this device. And then ultimately on Wi-Fi, I can see everything I need right here on the app. I'll show you how we'll set this up once we get this inserted. I'll show you how we go ahead and put this in. You want to find a thick place in the meat. And I'm going to zoom in and I'll show you this because there's a little line right on the probe. You want to make sure it gets beyond that. And this thing measures at the probe end, down here at the pointy end, as well as ambient temperature out here on the top end. So with 4 probes, you can end up getting 8 different thermometer readings throughout your grill. Really, really nice. Let me zoom in and kind of show you how we go about doing this. Now, as you can see, we have probe number 1 here, and you might be able to notice this line. I've got my finger right in it. There's a small little groove right there. We want to insert it all the way past that for this to work well. So we're going to go in at an angle. And I just want to find a good thick spot here. We have a little bit of that fat right here and a little bit right here, so we're going to avoid that part of it. Just going to kind of go in here like this. Nice solid area right there. I've got that all the way in there. It's beyond that line, and I can now go ahead and set it up in the app. So let's go ahead and get the mobile app set up. So once I'm in the app, I have probe number 1 in my meat. So I want to click on probe number 1. That's the one we'll be using. I'm going to click on the big blue button that says tap to set up cook. As soon as I do that, I want to choose the type of meat I have. So this is beef, it's a roast, and I'm going to choose chuck roast. And then it's going to ask me what temperature I want. Now I want this to get up to a fairly high temperature. I want to get to about 165 or so. So I'm going to set it to 165 degrees, and I'm going to just tell it to start the cook. So now that it says start to cook, it's going to tell me right on the screen, go ahead and place this in the, the grill, blah, blah, blah. And I hit start cook. Now, what's interesting is you can now see on here, it's going to start estimating the cook time once it goes in there. My internal temperature outside here is showing 50 degrees inside the meat from sitting outside. My target is 165, and the ambient temperature outside right now is 88 degrees. That's amazing at 9:06 in the morning, isn't it? Okay, so let's go ahead and put this down, and we'll go ahead and place the chuck roast right on the top rack of the smoker. We have the smoker set at 225 degrees. That's going to be plenty. We want to go nice and slow up to that 165. Impart a lot of smoke flavor. All right, we've got our chuck roast right here. Go ahead and open this guy up. Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks. There we go, right on the top shelf. We've got our probe here measuring ambient and inside the meat. With that, let's close her up. All right, that is in the smoker. I will wait probably 10 minutes or so, and then I'll come show you what the mobile app looks like. I can see now that the ambient temperature in there is at 150 degrees. Obviously, that'll climb up. It's at 152 already. As it's climbing up from the lid being closed, I can see what our target temperature is and the temperature inside the meat. The nice thing is this will actually estimate the cooking time as well. So what you can see on the screen is it says estimating cooking time right in the middle. You can kind of see the green arrow, that is the ambient temperature inside the grill. The blue arrow is the our target temperature, and then that little purple one that's way down low is the internal temperature of the meat. So we have a ways to go. But what's really cool about this is after it's in for 10 or 15 minutes, it will actually estimate the cooking time. It does pretty good. It's usually within 10 or 15 minutes. I've been pretty impressed with it. What I like most about the mobile app is it will send me notifications. So I have a notification set that when it gets 5 degrees before the temperature, the target temperature of 165, it will notify my cell phone. That's really handy. And I leave that little wooden block you saw right here, right on the side of the grill. That's the receiver from the probe, and then that thing connects to the Wi-Fi, and it's off and letting me know on my phone. So. All right, so it's been just a second for you, but the reality is it's 2 hours and 20 minutes or so later after we put that in. I've had my little probe monitor checking this thing. So let me show you what we see. I can actually see I've got a red warning here, remove from heat. The ambient temperature in the grill is at 229. Remember, my target was at 165. We're sitting at 164 degrees internal. And what's really cool is I can click on this graph right here, and I can actually see in that purple line how the temperature has slowly come up and it's starting to peak, right? You can see it slowly climb there from about 150 up to 165. So now's the time. We're going to go ahead and pull it out of the grill. We're going to put it into a little pan here, add in some nice beef stock, and you can do some chopped onions if you want, but the family doesn't like onions, so I'm just going to do that. And I got a little bit of hot water here. I did that because I don't want to shock the temperature significantly different. I'm going to put it in here, cover it up so we can braise it, wrap the whole thing in foil, and put it back in the grill until we get up to about 205 degrees, and that is when it's amazingly tender all the way through. So I'm going to go using these nice barbecue gloves as I pull this thing out of here. So I'm going to open up that grill, I'm going to pull this out with my hands and put it into that tray. If you don't have good barbecue gloves, please do use some kind of a utensil. Don't hurt yourself. Now you'll notice I'm not putting a base of vegetables, so I have just a little bit of water down here in my pan. That's exactly what we want to do. Let's go ahead and just set this right up here, and we'll reach in, we'll grab our meat right out of here. That is looking good. Let's pop it into there. Let's get this onto the table. Get ready to finish prepping it. All right, this interim step is really easy. I'm going to leave my probe right into the actual meat. I'm going to go ahead and now pour in some beef broth. You want to do this until you're covered, I don't know, let's say a half to 3/4 of the thickness of the beef. And I got water here in the event I needed more, but it looks like I'm not going to need any more. I'm just going to use this to rinse out a little bit of that broth powder. There we go. Now, this really is pretty simple. The reason why we're doing this nice tinfoil cover on it is we want this liquid to all become the braising liquid. It's going to tenderize this meat, and it's going to lock it right down inside this little container by having this foil wrapped all the way around. With that, we're just gonna put it right back in the griddle. Now, I've moved the grill back down now to 225 degrees. You could also do 200. I only want this to get to 205, so this will be perfect. I've got my temperature thermometer probe in there. We'll make sure it's connected back up, and we'll set that temperature for 203, so it's just enough time for me to get the warning and come out here and pull it out before it's 205. If it gets a little higher, it's gonna be okay, but this will be fall apart with a spoon tender. Is that gonna close? All right, we'll see you back here at 205 degrees. Just a second for you. All right, everybody, so I'm back. It's been about 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're sitting at 201 degrees in there. That's exactly the temperature we want. Let me go ahead and open this up. I'll bring it over, set it right here on the table. We'll take a look and see how tender it is. All right, we'll open this up, put it right over here on our table. All right, here we go. Let me pull the camera up here. We'll zoom in and I'll open it up and show you exactly what it looks like. You'll see it at the same time I do. Put these gloves on here and we'll open it up. There we go. Well, sorry about that. Forgive the change in scenery. I just carried this into the Florida room. It started pouring out there. So let me go ahead and zoom in. We'll pull the probe out of here and we'll just go ahead and see how tender this is and give it a try. We'll probably end up shredding this up and using it for tacos, so we're not going to eat this just like it is here, but we will have nice shredded beef or whatever it is we want, and this will be absolutely delicious. Show you the liquid in here too, so I'll put this in a container, separate that off, so we have some good au jus if we want to use that also. So the inner temperature here is still just about 200 degrees, so I'm just going to pull this probe out, set it aside, and then we'll go ahead and cut this open. All right, we'll take this out of this container. Hey, that's tender, and we'll put it in a little storage one and cut it open. Take this and pour my au jus right in here.
That's the steak juice?
It is the steak juice. You can try it in just a few minutes. So I'm pouring the au jus right in here. We'll save that for serving with it. Let me clean this up real quick and then we'll zoom in and show you. All right, so here we have it. As I mentioned, this would be spoon tender, and you can see how that just falls apart there. So that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm gonna break off a few chunks of this, and then we are gonna have our little taste testers, and we'll get on video and show you a few good taste tests. And you can see how easy this is to just pull this apart as like taco meat. It's gonna be unbelievable.
Is that like fat right there?
It's just part of the meat. But look at that. Pull it apart with a spoon, no problem.
Oh my God.
All right, so we can also take a little bit of this juice and run it right over top of anything we have. So my little taste tester and I are each going to get a piece and give this a try. Go ahead and pick one up.
It's hot.
It's not too hot. You want the fork?
It's the only
All right, so wait a minute. Let me put this down and let's give it a try on 3, right? It smells good, doesn't it?
It smells good.
All right, 1, 2, 3. It's not too hot. It's good, isn't it? Can you taste the beef? What else do you taste? Anything else?
I taste goodness and spiciness.
Goodness and spiciness? Okay. You want another one of these bites I took off of there? One of those?
Yeah.
All right. One more, ready?
I want another.
I'll put some on a plate and you have some. Well, that's it, y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time. You want to wave to everybody?
Is that a lizard in the bucket?
It sure is. Check that out. Let's go play with the lizard.